welcome to the best of Wedding Breakfast. Over the next half an hour, we're going to be getting a chance to revisit some of our great guests and top features. So grab a cup of tea and get comfy on the sofa. A soap star turns her attentions to the bedroom, a fresh-faced young singer meets Hollywood royalty, and a newly married couple take the internet by storm after posting a video of themselves online. Intriguing. Just a few juicy highlights from previous episodes of Wedding Breakfast, so stay where you are because if you missed it the first time, you won't want to miss it again. So let's start with a summer highlight when Kate met actress Julie Peasgood of Brookside and Emmerdale fame. She was very hot and bothered, but it wasn't because of the weather. It seemed all she wanted to talk about was sex.
I've got your new book here. This is The Greatest Sex Tips in the World. It is a little bit explicit.
It's much franker than I intended it to be when I first started writing it, but that just seemed to be the way to go, to be as honest as possible, really.
So first things first, because we know you from Brookside and from Emmerdale, how come you're now an author?
OK, it happened because I'm also a presenter. So I was presenting a gardening programme with a gentleman called, it does get there, with a gentleman called Steve Brooks, who originated the Greatest in the World series.
Oh, I see.
And he'd started it with a book about his speciality, gardening, the greatest gardening tips in the world. That had been a big success, so he'd sort of diversified into different authors, different titles. The greatest cookery, DIY, podcasting, personal success. So at the end of the day's filming, I said, so who's written the greatest sex tips in the world? And after, I think, my third gin and tonic, he said, you know, are you offering? Because I'd love you to do it. And I thought it was a joke at first, Kate, and I woke up the next day and thought, I probably won't hear anything again. And he called. And I said, well, I have written. I had a column in the Express, and I've done a sort of beauty, lifestyle, travel articles. So let me send you some sample tips and then commission me, because I wanted him to know what he was getting. And luckily he did commission me, and there it is.
If some of our viewers have been, I don't know, with their partners a few years, and, you know, the spark's gone out of their love life and everything, what would be your top tip, really, for sort of getting it all going again? OK, I think something that I know that I've got personal experience of is flirting again, because it's very easy to forget how to do that. And one of the seminars I attended, it said, let's send quite a sort of naughty, quite a dirty text to your loved one. And at first I thought, oh dear, I felt a bit pedestrian, to tell you the truth, a bit mild. So I sent basically the filthiest text I could to my partner. Of course, you've got to make sure you get the right number.
No,
that's
mandatory. It's always a bit of a worry. Double check your number. And the response I got back from him was wonderful. And you know, it was really good. We exchanged these texts. We'd been together 11 years, and the kind of texts that we might have done at first. And that was a wonderful build-up, lots of anticipation. So that's good. And I would also say, don't forget about sort of getting variety. If your normal style is quite soft and submissive, try being a bit dominant. Try just injecting a few changes. Abandon practicality in favour of passion. You know, jump in the shower with your clothes on. A few crazy things. Take a few risks, and I think it might pay dividends.
A very enlightening interview, some great advice there. But be warned, the book threatens to seriously improve your sex life. I better have a think who to buy it for. And from Julia to another saucy lady, 18-year-old waitress turned singer Victoria Hart. She wanted to take us all back to a golden age when love was truly celebrated in the form of music. And it seems to have been a winning formula, because she attracted the attention of none other than George Clooney, who asked her to sing for him, no less. We met Victoria before her encounter with the Hollywood celebrity, but we could see even from that early stage she was going to be quite a star herself.
Nowadays, we're really lacking real music, really lacking everything, real musicians. It's all going electronic, and it's not really about the music anymore. It's, you know, sex sells, don't get me wrong, but all the music videos, that's all you see, just girls with no clothes on, and you think, well, that's not what it's about. That's not what the music's meant to be about.
All the boys out there are nodding with agreement at the moment.
Well.
Tell us, who were your inspirations when you were growing up?
Oh, well, my grandmother, who I grew up with in Chicago, she was constantly playing Ella Fitzgerald, Doris Day, just Aretha Franklin, all of that sort of stuff. And so subconsciously I was taking it all in. And then, I mean, I like everything. I like all types of music. I listen to from classical to heavy metal, just anything and everything. But when I really started to go towards the whole jazz feel, when I'm trying to increase my repertoire, it wasn't a surprise that I knew all the words to all these songs because I'd been listening to them my whole life, really.
And there's a huge competition to get into the charts. How did you manage to get your record deal?
Oh, I'm the luckiest person I know, and I really think that. But I used to live in the south of France, and a piano teacher at my school said, "Oh, come along, prepare a few jazz standards, you know, and you can get up and sing." And halfway through, I had a little break, and he goes, "Oh, I don't want to get you scared or anything, but there's a guy here, and he's quite important, and, you know, you want to impress him because he can really help your career." And I went up to him, and I was kind of schmoozing, and he just said, "Yeah, I'd love to have you in my studio." And you know, the couple of weeks later, I was in there with him.
The $64 million question, who would be your dream date?
Oh, that's a hard question for me because I'm one of those girls, I just love men, every single man ever.
Oh,
I love...
the cameramen perked up then. They all got very excited. So you're not sort of like a Robbie Williams or a...
Oh, I met Robbie Williams in Hollywood and he was mean to me. So no, not Robbie Williams.
Oh, come on, dish the dirt.
Oh, it was just rude. Well, you know, I don't believe in that. I mean, obviously, because I always wanted this, I've always wanted to have a music career, I've always wanted global domination in the music, I've always been getting ready for just getting attention and getting people coming up to me, and I rode in celebrities that do that, that just, you know, stick their hand up, you say, "Oh, I'm busy, I'm eating." I just think, oh, that's so rude, because you knew that you were this was going to happen, you know, when you accepted that you're going to be famous. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. There's a lot of work in it. So you think, oh, it's just not very nice.
Ah, whatever did happen to romance, we're sure her star is going to keep on shining, so best of luck to Victoria. Now, if you've been on Mars, you won't be aware that YouTube has exploded on the internet. User-generated content, videos, it's all going online, and you can even do it on our website, weddingtv.com. Anyway, James Derbyshire and Julia Boggio took the internet by storm when they posted a video of themselves and their first dance, which was a tribute to Julia's favourite film, Dirty Dancing, on YouTube. They found themselves with over 1 million fans.
First things first, how was your wedding day and were you nervous?
I think we were very nervous. We weren't nervous about getting married. We weren't nervous about giving speeches. We were nervous about doing the first dance.
No, absolutely. I mean, in the run-up to most weddings, you're worried if you're going to get the speeches wrong. You're worried about if everyone's going to get there on time. All I could worry about was actually sliding down the stairs on my entry to do the dance.
And whether you were going to drop your bride as well.
Well, you know, I had a bit of help there.
More of that in a minute. The other thing I want to know is, how did you get the idea?
Well, the whole wedding was actually movie-themed, so it was really the only way that we could actually end it, I think, aside from possibly doing something from Greece. But yeah, it was my idea.
Absolutely, and there's no way I wanted to look like John Travolta on the day.
And you must be big fans of the movie Dirty Dancing.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
No, not at all. No, I've been forced to watch the movie by every girlfriend I've ever had since I was about 14. And Julia made me watch it, I think, about 2 or 3 times, and then decided that we were going to do this dance. I then subsequently watched that dance about 15, 20 times before the wedding. So I'm a fan now just by the fact that I've been hypnotised by it.
And how did you go about actually getting the routine together? Did you get help from a dance teacher or did you do it yourselves?
Yeah, one of our good friends is a professional choreographer, so I called him up and I said, "Hey, Stewie, do you think that you could do this for us?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem."
Whose idea was it to put it on the internet?
That was me again. I seem to be having all the ideas. But I have a lot of friends and family back in America, and even though we had gotten married almost 2 years ago, they were asking me to see the dance, so we just thought, oh, let's put it on YouTube. We'd seen that Thriller dance on YouTube as well, so I thought, stick it up.
The interesting thing was we didn't expect lots of people to go and see it.
Well, yes, this is my next question. He's got a reported 1 million hits. Well, how did that happen?
Absolutely. We checked this morning, and it's 1.2 million. And it was only a couple of weeks ago that it was about 1 million. And it's interesting, every time someone hears about it, whether it's in a newspaper or another TV programme or something, people surge to the internet to go and see it.
So do you two get recognised now walking down the street?
Yes,
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
time.
Actually, on the airplane, flying from Australia over to Bangkok recently, we were there kind of half dozing, and this woman comes over and goes, "I loved your dance," and we're like, "Oh, thank you."
Absolutely. And we were at the theatre this week, and during the interval, a whole load of people were kind of looking at us, and I didn't think anything of it. And then one of the girls just came running up and goes, "Oh my God, I've just got to tell you, I think you're fabulous. It's great. I watch it every day." And then she kind of scuttled off, really embarrassed. It was very entertaining.
This is amazing. I mean, do you have any plans to do any more dance routines?
Oh yes, definitely. We're actually talking to our friend Stuart, who choreographed this dance for us, and we've got a few plans.
We've found a lot of people coming to us asking for advice on what to do for their weddings.
Exactly. And what is your advice to other couples for their first dance? Because obviously lots of people won't be as confident as you two were.
Well, I think the advice is to just, think out of the box, do something different. They'll spend hours agonizing on what color flowers should be, what color the bridesmaids should wear, all these little details. And then by the time they get to the first dance, they're like, "Oh, let's just shuffle around to whatever." But that's the part where you should probably be thinking most about what you're going to do, because you're entertaining your guests. It's like being on stage, and it's like everyone's worst nightmare to go on stage and not know what your lines are. So.
And what do you think of the result of our first dance survey? That the most popular song for that first dance is Whitney Houston, "I Will Always Love You."
It's a beautiful song. All the songs in the poll are wonderful.
You can't do a lot to
but
it,
they're
though,
quite
can
obvious.
you?
I mean, they're all about love and they're all about romance, and that's great because that's what a wedding day is all about. But you can make the wedding day, in fact, your whole marriage, as personal as you like. And I think, as Julia said, it's good to think out of the box. People expect to do a traditional wedding. Well, why don't you do something a little untraditional? Choose something from a movie. It doesn't have to be from you. It could be from a musical. It could be from anything you want for the first dance.
Well, you've been married for a little while now, but I hear you've only just been on honeymoon. How was it?
It was fantastic. It was really good. We went to Hong Kong and Australia and Thailand, and we actually did some television appearances in Sydney while we were there as well.
Absolutely. We would, Channel 7 discovered that we were in Sydney while we were in Australia, and they got hold of my mobile number. So we suddenly found ourselves being pushed in front of the camera live on breakfast TV in Sydney, which was hysterical, and then followed by a film crew all the way back to the apartment where we were staying. So we can't really get away from it all, but it was a lovely honeymoon. Yeah.
Many thanks to James and Julia, who've just appeared in the States with the mighty Oprah alongside Patrick Swayze, no less. We're sure Oprah saw them here first. Don't go changing, because up next we turn our attention to something every celebrity and of course every bride-to-be needs: a good entrance. Get us to the church on time after the break. Just about enough time for a cup of tea. Welcome back to the best of wedding breakfast. Now, if you're planning your wedding, you want your dream method of transport, don't you? So we took a look at some beautiful ways to get there, be it a big red bus or a classic car. And to help you decide, we sent George along to look at some beauties.
From a horse-drawn carriage to a luxury limousine, there are countless ways to make it to the church on time. Personally, I'm quite a fan of something slinky and vintage. Well, today I'm here with Tom from AA Executive Cars in Sidcup, Kent. They have an array of cars on their roster, including a pre-war taxi and a vintage car made in 2007. Tom, first of all, can you please tell me, what is the Beaufort?
The Beaufort is a kit car, which you buy the kit, you have to buy a separate engine and chassis, and you have it built now, so you get the modern luxury but with the car looking like the 30s.
So why remake a classic?
so that you've got reliability. When you've got old cars, a lot of the time you can't get the parts, and when things break down, you have to let people down. Obviously, by having modern mechanics, you avoid a lot of this before it happens.
So when a bride is trying to decide on a car, how exactly do you guide them?
I listen to what their requirements are first, and then we guide them, because a lot of the time they don't realise what are the advantages on the day of having a big car, for instance. They worry about their dress, creasing it, so you need a big entrance to the door, maybe a wide step to get in, subject to how many bridesmaids they've got. It all depends. Everyone is an individual case. It all depends how far they're going to what we would recommend they use.
So how do we recognise a reputable company?
The first thing really is a company that's been going for many years, and you need a company that's got a large portfolio. In the case of a lot of the smaller companies, they've got 2 or 3 cars, and if you get a breakdown or they have an engine fault, you haven't got a car. The other thing is we've got a lot of drivers that work for us. They're all over 50 years old, so we've got quality trained staff.
So have you had any funny happenings on your back seat?
We did have a wedding a few months ago where on the way to the church they did send the second car to a different destination because they didn't want it there. So the mother-in-law-to-be was sent somewhere different. We have also had bride and groom on their way to the reception in the evening fighting in the car. The bride found seemed to be the time to tell the groom that she was pregnant and it wasn't his.
So you have a veritable cavalcade of cars here on show today. Take me through the catwalk.
Right. This particular car that I'm standing next to now is a 1930 Rolls-Royce limousine. It was built in Manchester by Cockshute. They only made 2 of them, so it is a very rare car. The advantage of this particular model is they made an extra high roof so that you don't get the oblong windows you get on so many vintage cars, and it gives more light inside. You've also got a double width part for getting into the car on the running boards so that you can balance rather than tipping over. Because it's a limousine size, you've actually got the wheel arch which is past the door, and the other advantage of this particular car is you've got the third window at the back, so you're not sitting behind a pillar, you can be seen and you can see out. These are the 2 Roadsters. They are the 1930s style cars. They are actually built in the 60s in America, and they are copies of the Model A Ford, which was built in 1930. They are the only 2 that we know of in the country, so they are very rare. They're both in immaculate condition.
They're absolutely beautiful, and this one is perfect for a summer's day like this.
In weather like this, they're absolutely perfect. They make so many great photograph opportunities, and people always crowd round them at weddings because they haven't seen anything like them before. The other car that we brought along today was the 1947 Mark IV Jaguar. Now, this was known as the SS, but in 1960s they had to change it because of the Nazi era, and they took away all the SS out of it and put the J's for Jaguar on it. But it's a very rare car, very, very popular, one of our most highly booked cars. This is our 1962 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud. This is one of the most popular Rolls-Royces in the 50s and 60s. Anyone who was anyone used to own one of these. They were one of the last models that Rolls-Royce made that still had elegance and shape. They did start going square and streamlined after this. It's got a lot of room inside, one of the biggest of the saloons. It's got a very powerful engine, not that that matters much, but it was made of class and quality.
It's very slinky, I think is the right word.
Yes, I always say it's an elegant car.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So Tom, is vintage really best?
These days there is a large choice of vintage and classic cars, and these have become more and more popular. Every wedding seems to be, they want to have something rarer than their sister or the neighbour, and so therefore you've got to find these cars.
Tom, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure coming to see these cars here in such a beautiful setting. Thank you so much for joining us on Wedding Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Let's hope you got some great inspiration there. Now, at the National Wedding Show earlier this year, George arrived in style in a classic Bentley. He is such a show-off. Check this out.
Well, I always like to arrive in style. I'm here with Jeff from VIP Bentleys. Well, thank you, sir. Amazing, absolutely beautiful car. Thank you so much for allowing me to arrive in style.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Now, it's an absolutely incredible, modern sort of engineering masterpiece. Is that the right word?
It is indeed, yes. They're very unique. They're handmade still at Crewe, and they are still very, very beautiful cars and very expensive.
Very expensive is what we like. Now, I would say there's quite a special story behind this car, isn't there?
Yeah, this is rather a special car. Last year was Bentley's 60th anniversary of manufacture at Crewe, and for their anniversary they brought out 60 cars. They called them the Diamond Series, obviously for their diamond anniversary, and 60 of the cars were made and produced, and this particular one was a Bentley demonstrator that I managed to buy with a very, very low mileage directly from Bentley's. So it's a very, and there is only 2 of this colour. They made 19 colours for the 60 cars, and there were only 2 produced in this colour.
So only 2 of this type in the world?
Absolutely, yes.
So we're talking megabucks here. How much are we talking?
Well, they're not that much dearer than an average Bentley. This is in the region of 190, 200,000.
Now, are you finding that more people are going for a sort of a modern approach to arriving at church? Because the classic, the vintage way, isn't it best?
I would suggest it depends really what you're looking for. I think the market is very varied these days. I mean, at one time when I was a young man, it was black cars, and you used to do funerals in the cars and do weddings at weekends. Then white cars obviously became popular. The problem with white cars, everyone expects a white car at a wedding, and therefore there's no wow factor. It doesn't matter whether it's a lovely white Bentley or a very old car, unless it's very vintage or horse and cart. You know, there's not a wow factor. Lots of people are now going for more traditional colours that colour coordinate with their theme. They look stunning, and they give a different perspective to travelling to the church.
Yeah, and particularly I'm rather fond of the extra little touch in there, a glass of classy champagne.
Absolutely.
Is that your special touch?
Well, I think most chauffeur companies, most wedding cars do that, but we've got nice veneer tables in there, very expensive walnut, and it looks very nice with the table down and the champagne in there. We wait until the photographer's finished outside the church, and then on the way to the venue, the reception venue, of course, they're able to then drink a glass of champagne.
Very nice. A nice way to arrive in style.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's an expensive piece of machinery. Is it expensive to hire?
Our English wedding fixed price is £435, which for considering the quality and the value of the car, that is a reasonable price, and it's comparable with most other wedding cars in London.
Well, listen, most importantly, where can people find out about you?
We've got a website, and you can find us out at www.vipbentleys.com or .co.uk. Very, very simple indeed. Simple.
Well, thank you so much. A perfect way to arrive at the show today.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Impressive stuff there, and of course there are plenty more ideas on how to get to the church on time on our website, weddingtv.com. And of course, it doesn't have to be a car. There are lots more ways the couples have chosen to arrive at the church on their big day. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look back at some of our best bits. See you next time for more Best of Wedding Breakfast.